Today we're looking at Justice League Brave and the Bold, a great Flash-centered episode partnered with Green Lantern, which creates a great dynamic, and he faces off against one of my favorite villains, Gorilla Grodd. But here's my question. Do we really need that first episode? And with all the powers of the Justice League, why do we rely on Batman to save the day ultimately? And why is this called Brave and the Bold? Let's find out together in today's review for Justice League. Hello friends, welcome back to the show. So glad to see all of you once again, and if you're new here, thanks for stopping by. We're here to talk about cartoons and comics, and particularly where they merge, and have a little coffee along the way, because today we're going to be talking about the Justice League, the animated series, the episode, The Brave and the Bold, the two-parter that aired back in March of 2002.
Would you excuse me?
If you haven't seen this episode and you want to hear my 90-second rundown of the episode, you can click on the video right up here. And if you have seen it and are very familiar with the episode, then continue watching. Once you watch that, well, obviously come back and then you'll get my full review.
This could be the greatest discovery in the history of mankind.
I was very encouraged by the cold open. That's the kind of cold open that I really like, where we see the scientists out there digging, they find the gorilla skull, and then the speaking gorillas show up, and then you see the city disappear. Very cool, very intriguing, makes me want to watch more, makes me want to see where this is going to go.
Humans!
This is very much a Flash episode, and right off the bat we establish him, and he's talking to a couple of people there in the diner, and this seems to be what the Justice League is doing in these early episodes, really focusing on some of the other characters that we haven't seen much of. Obviously we know Batman from Batman the Animated Series, obviously we know Superman from his own series, and we had a couple of these characters, Flash being one of them, that kind of crossed over and appeared in some of the episodes, and that was the first adjustment that I had to make. Was I jumped into this knowing the characters and wanting and expecting to just see Justice League in action. And this very much seems like they focus on a character and maybe have a side character, and that's the case in this episode.
I'm on it.
Wait, I'll go with you.
I really like this version of The Flash. I always have. Is Michael Rosenbaum does a terrific job as the voice actor, and obviously we know him from as Lex Luthor in the Smallville series.
There are parts of my life I'm not proud of, Clark.
Easy, boy.
Fantastic actor and very dynamic with his voice. So that right off the bat is a great plus for this character and particularly this episode.
Having fun, Mojo?
I think the Flash is a very unique character. He's not your typical heroic, standing forward, always doing good. He's younger and he's a bit arrogant, and his powers have kind of gone to his head a little bit.
I was handling it.
He's fast, not only in his speed, but in the way he thinks and the way he reacts and things like that, and is a bit more impulsive. And we see all of those elements kind of delivered throughout these episodes.
Hey, monkey boy!
What I really enjoy is they have a nice balance of him being arrogant and a little full of himself and a little prideful without being annoying.
Hey, we both got a Martian's phone number on our speed dial.
And I also think that his impulsive nature to just run off and run into battle and just lead forward is showcased very well, and I think it helps move the story forward sometimes. Pairing him with Green Lantern in these episodes is also a great choice. Green Lantern is very much more thoughtful, more structured, has a higher group with the Green Lantern Corps that he answers to, so has kind of rules that he lives by, and they're very much polar opposites in that sense, and that lends itself to some great comedic moments.
Hey, who you calling slow?
Flash, don't heckle the supervillain.
And furthermore, the other thing that does is, by him being a little bit more impulsive, sort of explains why we don't see much of the Justice League. In fact, some of the other members that are focused in the second episode aren't in the first episode at all. So they took the first episode really to kind of build this dynamic pair, and then bring in the other Justice League in the second episode, which I think worked.
Not bad, huh?
Now, one of the things that I sort of struggled with in this first episode, which they kind of fixed in the second episode, was it took a long time to get started. There was a lot of running. which again, I should have expected because we're dealing with the Flash. We really need to establish his powers and build that out. But that whole sequence of him chasing down the van in the beginning took a long time. The Flash is sort of having a bit of a challenge catching up to a van driven by a couple of scientists. Not even like professional drivers or henchmen, getaway car, they're scientists, right? So again, it seemed like an underuse of his powers. He should have been able to get there pretty easily. We were pretty much almost halfway through the episode before we really got into the plot of what this was going to be about. And a good chunk of that first half of the episode was the Flash running.
Hey, easy.
As someone who grew up on Batman the Animated Series and that kind of being my home base for the DC animated world, these are very different episodes. These are much more action-driven. They have to share a lot more character time with various heroes. So we have a lot of these episodes that are early on where we're establishing all these kind of newer characters, whereas in Batman the Animated Series, it was Batman.
Not this time.
You know, when you think about the difference of the early 90s to the early 2000s, we as an audience were already shifting. I was 10 years old when Batman came out. Now I was 20. So the 10-year-olds that this show is shifted for or geared towards were consuming content differently and wanted different things. It's definitely brighter. It's definitely more action-driven. It's more comedic.
Oh yeah? Well, you're naked.
I have to adjust the way I'm watching these to not expect them to be Batman the Animated Series, but really trying to look at them through the lens of what they are. And no, I can't put myself in the shoes of a 10-year-old in the early 2000s, but I can watch it now as an adult through the perspective of what this show is meant to be and who they are targeting.
You watch too many movies.
Another kind of scene that felt like a bit of a filler was this whole dream sequence when the Flash was under the mind control of Grodd, where he was seeing himself turn into a gorilla and he was a marionette and the mirrors and all that. It was a little weird, felt a little out of place. And certainly from the comics, they referenced a lot of storylines from the 60s of the Flash. So that was kind of a nice little Easter egg. I think from a visual kind of creative sequence in the show, it was fun.
That's gratitude for you.
I think this is one of those two-parters where, you know, where I've said in the past on some of the episodes, particularly War World, whether or not it needed to be a two-parter. This one was a little different in the sense that I think the second episode was much better than the first episode.
We don't have to listen to this.
Case in point, it just moved faster. It had the other Justice League members that were brought into the story, which created more dynamic and more interest in the characters. Batman's featured in this episode a little more.
But I've discovered something else.
To me, I like this episode better, and it certainly starts off really well. Kind of a similar storyline to War World, where they have Green Lantern and the Flash in Central City, which is, you know, in the domed, masked from the rest of the world. So they're kind of separated from the Watchtower. Same sort of thing that happened to Martian Manhunter and Superman in War World, but it's a nice device. Now we got kind of an A plot and a B plot going on of them, the Justice League trying to find them trying to get out, them partnering with the white gorilla, Sriracha, whatever his name is.
My name is Solivar.
The things I was saying about Superman and Wonder Woman of being so powerful that they have to kind of downplay their powers, I'm seeing them do that to a lot of the Justice League. You take all the powers of the Justice League, you put those powers all together into one basket of usability, and they can do just about anything. There's no stopping them. I mean, there's no villain they couldn't take down. Now, that doesn't make for an interesting show.
Go ahead, rub it in.
I think the producers have that challenge of going, how do we either take certain characters out of these episodes? You know, there's other options. They can have some sort of conflict within the group, or some, you know, the moral dilemmas always work well. Well, we can do this, but should we do this? Those sorts of questions. But I do think it's funny that with all of those powers, we still relied on Batman to pick a lock to be able to get them out of prison. They could have just, you know, phased through them or broke them or hammered them, you know, they could have done anything, but it was Batman, the one without powers, that got them all free, which is both humorous and a little sad for everybody else. Another major highlight for these episodes is Gorilla Grodd. He is one of my favorite villains, and I think I talked about him, when we had the episode Superman, what was it, Monkey Business, Monkey Fun, whatever the episode was up here. I kind of poked a little bit of fun at this big gorilla stories and Batman or Superman versus gorillas and all of that. Gorilla Grodd is the exception. Gorilla City is the exception because these are not only big, strong gorillas, but he's also super smart. And that makes for a fun element. And I think this version of Gorilla Grodd is really well done, well voiced, well delivered, and his plan of I'm better than the gorillas of Gorilla City and we're going to destroy them and I'm going to start a new empire is kind of a cool plot.
Today, a new age dawns.
He very easily got the nukes, I felt, but that honestly made this episode move a lot quicker. And I think, again, that is one of those stories that's worthy of the Justice League. Okay, Gorilla Grodd, a super genius gorilla, has the codes to send nuclear bombs first to Gorilla City, but what's going to stop him from destroying whatever other country or city on the planet? And the Justice League has to go in there to stop that. We have multiple missiles going off and each of them kind of taking their missile. A very worthy story of the Justice League.
What could you possibly do to save us?
Because this was a Flash-centered episode, I think that full arc of the Flash, of being very impulsive, being very forward, being very running off and just marching into the existence is well played, and he's a little bit of aloof and a little goofy in this, and as he typically is. But then for him to finally have outsmarted Gorilla Grodd, I think is genius, because Gorilla Grodd didn't see it coming. That moment where he tricked him into rewiring his helmet was a great use of the story. And then the recap of the scientist that was not under Gorilla Grodd's spell was kind of cool. The little teaser at the end of Gorilla Grodd giving a little smile that he's maybe not as incapacitated as he appears was a nice recap. And so this could have existed with just that second part.
I outsmarted a super genius.
The question that I posed at the beginning is, why is this called Brave and the Bold? And I want you to add your comments below if you have any ideas. My theory, based on this kind of character study of the Flash, I think the title Brave and the Bold refers to the Flash. Brave in the sense that he is fearless and goes into action and faces up against Gorilla Grodd, and that bravery he wears, maybe based on a little bit of the naivete, but certainly to face him, no fear, I can do this. And then the bold aspect of just going in, leading first, just going, let's just do it. And his impulsive, fast nature lending himself to be a little bit more bold. So Brave and the Bold, that's my take. I think that is a description of the Flash, which is a little bit of a throw off because you think of Batman Brave and the Bold, certainly from the series, and I think that's what the new movie that's going to be coming out, the James Gunn universe, whatever we're calling that. This seems like this could have been a Batman episode, but I think it's a description of the Flash. That's my thought.
Guess you're not as dumb as you look.
So when it comes time to rank this episode, it's certainly better than some, not as good as others, so it falls a little bit in the middle of my list at number 4 of my favorite episodes so far. It's just below In Blackest Night, and really, I think it could have gone either way, this being a character study of Flash, that being a character study of Green Lantern. I think for me personally, In Blackest Night was a more cohesive story and a little bit more intriguing of a story. Off-world trial, crime, that sort of thing, whereas this felt more centered, more Flash.
Who, what, where?
But I do have it beating out Secret Origins. I think that to focus on a single character seems to work better in that sense.
The fates were kind today.
But let me know your thoughts about the episode and certainly what you think Brave and the Bold title was really about. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't done so by now, please click the like, subscribe. We have new episodes coming out very soon. We're trying to get back on track, producing episodes every week, and a couple new types of episodes that'll be coming out very soon. And next up, we're going to be talking about Fury, whichever, of Justice League animated series. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.